Thank you very much, Derek, for coming to my podcast, Business Breakthroughs. We met recently, like a month ago, in a Global Speaking Summit in Australia, and then I asked you to join the podcast, and then you did. So that shows something. That shows that you do these things. You are out there. You are positioning yourself. And can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? What is it you do in your industry? And also, you told me earlier that you've done already maybe like 40 podcasts. So I would like to also know, why do you keep doing podcasts? Why is it important?
Okay. So my business right now is I speak at conferences. I either open them or close them. I have a very interesting backstory, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I also run workshops or masterclasses, and the masterclasses are on what I call human durability. A lot of people talk about resilience, the resilience to be able to get through problems, but resilience essentially is being able to bounce back. Now, it's a very important skill to have, but resilience, we are waiting for something to go wrong and then bounce back from it. Human durability, as I perceive it, it's about being able to sustain optimal performance. It's about being able to anticipate what the challenges might be, have a plan of action, and cut them off before they actually eventuate, so that we can just keep on gradually growing. Is that going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But it is what we are all aiming for. So, and that relates very much to my backstory, and I'll tell you that in a moment. And the other part of my business is I talk about mind mastery. Most people will talk about mindset. And again, that's very important. Same as resilience. Resilience is important. Mindset is important. But I talk about mindset as well as mind management. And mindset will get us to the line. It will get us through the basic challenges, right? And keep on going. But when things really go south, when they really get hard, you're starting to get overwhelmed, anxious, you're uncertain, things are volatile, they're uncertain, they're complex or ambiguous. That's when we need mind management, because your mind is going to be really challenged. And being able to manage your mind in the midst of adversity is something we can practice proactively, so that when we get there, we can just keep on going. And again, this goes back to the sustained optimal performance. So the reason I've done 40 podcasts is something that we spoke about before. It allows me to get my message to a broader audience. I've worked in 10 or 12 different countries now, and I've had a 4,000 person audience in Singapore. And so that's getting my message out to a lot of people, but podcasts allow me to get it out much further, wider, and people can hear my message and then hear it again and again and analyze what they need to analyze.
Amazing. Perfect. Oh, thank you very much for sharing. I have a lot of notes from that.
You've had a lot of notes, yes.
Yeah, I really love what you said in here. And I've never heard anybody said it like that. And then it goes nicely with a business. So you said human durability, anticipate, and then resilience, it will be react, right? So if you are resilient, you would react to situations. And if you have durability, so anticipate. So that's really powerful, I think, because in business it's the same thing, right? So when I run the business and I need to learn how to anticipate. And then, for example, I've done, some people like it, not like it, I don't care. I've done a lot of training with Tony Robbins, and in his business mastery, he always speaks about it like leaders anticipate and losers react. So it's about not only be resilient, because that might not be enough, but if you can anticipate that, and I've never seen that kind of a term like you mentioned, that the human durability in when it comes to person, because I know it more in the business side. So that's really good. How did you come up with that, like to put the anticipation, human durability, and position it like that? Like, did you do it through like experiences from your, like what you've seen, and how did that come about?
So this comes back to what I alluded to before, my backstory. The reason I came up with this is I've spent 42 years in police in South Australia. And part of my policing, I joined what we call STAR Group. STAR is STAR, Special Task and Rescue. And I was a sniper, I was an underwater tactical diver, and I trained with our military elite, the equivalent of the GSR, the SAS, the South Australian SAS. I trained with them in counter-terrorism. And so we were going out, we were doing high-risk arrests. I was VIP security to the Queen. We did helicopter operations, all that sort of very highly exciting stuff as I see it.
Mm-hmm.
But one day we went out to arrest a guy who wasn't all that keen on being arrested. He fired 18 times and hit me 14 times with a military rifle. And
Wow.
so I had some massive, massive injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I had a broken forearm, a severed artery in my forearm, the radial artery was severed. I had a piece of shrapnel go into my right wrist, severed an artery in
Mm-hmm.
my right wrist. I had 2 bullets in my stomach. I lost 45 centimeters of bowel all up in my stomach. Fortunately, it didn't hit a kidney or a spleen or a liver or anything like that. It was just the bowels. I had 2 bullets in my left thigh. I had 1 bullet went through my right Achilles tendon and took out 80% of my Achilles tendon. And then there are other bits and pieces that were not so major. But I was then lying on the ground for 3 hours with a severed artery in the left forearm and a severed artery in the right wrist. If you know anything about first aid or physiology, if you sever an artery, generally speaking, you're dead in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
3 months is probably the most that people generally last with a severed artery. So
Mm-hmm.
doctors have now told me they have no idea how I survived. 3 hours lying on the ground, 2 severed arteries, massive injuries elsewhere. Um, but I have put it down into what I now call my doctrine of human durability. How do you
Mm-hmm.
and mind mastery, of course, how do you control your mind so that when you are under the most pressure, you can sustain an optimal performance? Now,
Mm-hmm.
optimal is primary word there, because a lot of people talk about we've got to be able to get to peak performance and then sustain peak. And in the modeling that I've got, it shows very clearly. I've got 2 models of resilience. One's functional, one's aspirational. Aspirational
Mm-hmm.
is where we keep on pushing ourselves. Now, this is what people would associate with peak performance. How do you keep on pushing yourself? How do you get to the absolute top? And there are
Mm-hmm.
6 steps that I've got in there that allow you to keep on going and keep pushing yourself. But the key to that is understanding that if you do try to keep pushing yourself, you will go into burnout. It's just
Mm-hmm.
impossible. We cannot do
Yes.
it. Not even machines can sustain peak performance. If you try to rev your car engine at absolute peak, it will burn out. And so I've got the other model of resilience, and that is functional resilience. And there are 6 specific steps, and they will tell you how you go about resting, relaxing, replenishing. Um, and the key to human durability is seeing the signs early, right? Being able to sustain optimal performance, seeing the signs early that you are going through this process and you're getting towards burnout. And people identify this, they self-identify. I recognize the signs of burnout. I'm getting snappy. I'm not able to concentrate. I'm not sleeping well. I'm getting overwhelmed. I can't make decisions. They see
Mm-hmm.
those signs of burnout. As soon as you see them, flick back into functional. Take some time out, rest, relax, replenish, re-energize yourself. Now, people go, well, I don't have time to take time out. You don't have to take 2 weeks out. You may just get to a point where you go, I've just had a horrible conversation with a client, with an employee, really not going well. I need to take 10 minutes to myself and just rest, relax, replenish, start
Yes.
breathing again, then I can come back in. Now, if you're really getting overwhelmed, obviously you need more time than that, but we
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to take that time out just for the time that we need. And then if you stay in aspirational resilience, pushing yourself too much, you'll go into burnout. If you go into functional resilience and you stay there, you'll go into rust out because you're not achieving anything, you're not pushing your mind, you're not developing anything, and you will go into rust out. And we can see a lot of people in organizations who are stuck in functional resilience. They don't want to make decisions, they don't want to step up to leadership, they won't take ownership of anything, they won't self-initiate anything, they will do exactly what you ask them to do, but you have to ask them. Now, these people are just sitting in functional resilience the whole time. And we need to
Mm-hmm.
be able to find the way to push them out of there and get them into aspirational and just achieving little bits. It's an incremental development. But for your business leaders, recognizing those signs of burnout and going, "Do you know, I need to take 10 minutes. I need to take 10 hours. I need to take 10 days," whatever it might be. Very, very important.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for
And
sharing.
my apologies. And that is what led me to this philosophy of human durability.
Yes.
Me lying on the ground. How did I survive? What did I do? How did I do it? And it was managing my mind in the time at that time. That's not something that I came up with in the moment. It was
Yes.
5 years prior to the shooting. I sat down with my wife and I had a conversation that very few military and very few police have with their partner. And I said to my wife, "I'm going into Star Group, sniper, diver, counter-terrorism, jumping in and out of helicopters. There's a very real chance I may be shot and injured. I may be shot and killed." My question to her was not about me. It was about, if I die, what will your life look like? Because our
Yes.
choices, our actions, our consequences have an impact on our family, our colleagues, our businesses, our employees. So it was a question about, how will your life look like? And I love going into depth in these things. When I run a masterclass, I'm able to go into it a little bit deeper. But I then stepped away from myself and I said, if I get shot and I don't die, what's going to happen in my mind? What's going to happen in my body, my physiology? And so I had some idea of what I was going to deal with, some idea of how it was going to make me feel, what was going to happen. And then I said to myself, if it does happen, what resources do I have to be able to manage it? Right. And this is where the mind management comes into it. Okay. I needed to know that a perfect response was here, A, B, C, D. But under that much pressure, are you going to get a perfect response? Very, very rarely. It's possible, but very, very
Yeah.
rarely. So I had to look incrementally along the line, along the continuum, to what does chaos look like? If everything is going absolutely horrendously wrong, what does that look like? And how do I take control of that, my physiology as well as in my mind? And having that idea of worst case scenario as well as best case scenario gave me a lot of options when it did actually happen. I'd already thought it through. I didn't have to get creative in the moment. I already had some idea of all the different options that I had, depending on where I was on that continuum.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing. It's again, I have a lot of notes. It was really good. Yeah, I really like what you said in here in the last. Well, like you kind of were really thinking about the future, the options, what can happen, and again, really, again, like you mentioned in here about the human durability, anticipating that something can happen, and if it's going to happen, then you are ready for it. So you anticipate that that's one of the possibilities, and then you are not reacting because, like you said, if you react, you're not going to be in the best state of your mind, and then you're going to make worse decisions. And this is the same in it comes to business. Like one of the recent book I read, it was Richard Harpin. He wrote a book like 9 Steps to Get the Billion, because he sold a business recently for 4.1 billion. And one of the things when he mentioned also when I met him, he was like, it's like when you, for example, have a business and you need to raise finance, unless you need to raise finance now for that business, it's too late. You need to think like a year in advance, because when you are under stress and you are doing it, you're gonna give more of your business. You're gonna do worse decisions than if you anticipate that actually you will need it in the future. So that's kind of reminded me that what you said in here. But I have a question. So obviously, yeah, people are doing the peak performance, like boom, 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 and then they have that kind of I feel that. Let me go to the functional, rest, relax, focus on something on their own. So since I've being around business people, I see that people can kind of see more the kind of the burnout or overwhelm or this kind of signs, so they can rest. But I feel like people are more struggling when they are actually resting, how to get back on so they don't stay there for so long. How would you recommend people what to do in order to get them back on a track if they are resting too long, and then they some people can get lazy and they're like, how to build that momentum back?
So building the momentum back is going to be about your passion, your drive, your want to get back to that. People who don't get out of functional resilience is because that's their comfort zone, and they're going to sit in their comfort zone, and they don't want to get it out of it anymore. They had such a bad experience over here in aspirational resilience, and pushing themselves, that they don't want to go back there. That's why they got burnt out. For those
Yeah.
people that don't want to go back there, for me, it's about, what is your passion? What do you want to do? Because I believe that everybody innately wants to be an achiever, wants to be a high performer in what they love. Now,
Yeah.
and we see this a lot with injured workers. They get an injury, they go into rehabilitation, and they just don't want to come out of rehabilitation. They don't want to go back to that job, right? And that's okay, so long as they have something that they can go towards. I talk about 5 drivers in another one of my models. The first driver is a sense of optimism. We've got to have a sense of optimism, and we've got to believe. The second step is we've got to believe that we can influence it. The third one is have meaning in our life. Okay. So if this doesn't give them meaning, then they're not going to want to go back to it. You've got to find out what is the meaning for them. And the sense of optimism is the absolute key. They've got to be able to see that where they are now is not where they want to stay, and there is something better out there, and they want to achieve that. That will
Yeah.
drive their passion. That will make
Yeah.
them want to get out of functional resilience and back into aspirational resilience. So it's not about just saying, well, you've got to get out of that and you've got to get back into here. You've got to dig into people's minds. You've got to understand what drives them, what makes them tick. And people will do things for a lot of different reasons. If you've got a passion for it, real meaning, absolutely, people will drive themselves crazy. There are some people that hate what they do, but they know that the money that they get from doing that job that they hate will then be able to pay for their school for their kids. It will help their wife get, or their husband get to where they want to go, or allow them to go on holidays. And
Yeah.
so when I talk about meaning, that may be the meaning for them. And I'll give you a
Yeah.
quick example. I had a friend who worked 3 part-time jobs. Okay, now in Australia, if you work a part-time job, you get paid more than a full-time job, because they're not paying you for your holidays, they're not paying you for sick leave and all those sorts of things. So she worked 3 part-time jobs. She didn't like any of them, but she knew she was getting paid a lot of money in each of those 3 jobs. And when she wanted to go on holiday, they're only part-time jobs. She can just drop them, walk away from them. There's no connection to them, and she can go and use all that money she's made on her holidays. And
Yeah.
she loved doing that. That was her drive. That was her meaning, her sense of
Yeah.
optimism, where she got to travel. And she was the one who chose how she got the money for it. That was her ability to influence what was happening to her.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's very good. Like you mentioned about the passion, the drive, like it's, but I see like if you really want to get back on, like you need to have something you are working towards it. And either you are in that kind of your niche, and then perfect. So that's ideal. You even make money there and you do this thing and it's ideal, but also you can make, like you said, you can be in a job you don't like, but it drives your passion. So for example, I'll give you my example. So when I started a business here in Scotland, first thing I did my food truck business because I was a chef. I wanted to cook. That was my passion. I didn't know really anything about business, but I was just following my passion. But I failed 4.5 years ago into the business and opening a cafe. COVID hit, but not only because of COVID. Like I didn't make it happen. I didn't know much about business, but it was my passion. But it ended up not fulfilling the needs of, providing for my family, for my children. And then I went into the property business, not because it was my biggest passion, but I know property makes money. So I started doing that, and now I'm doing it for 6 years. It's not really my passion, but I still do it on the side because it brings some kind of income. But now I kind of more do the speaking and things like that to kind of now focusing on the passion, which because the property kind of bring money. So that's but it's about finding the deeper why. And for me, it was always my children and my family, and then clients as well. But it's what it is, right? So just discovering that, and and sometimes even not rushing it, because I have some clients and they're young. Like I have a guy, he's 19, and he's like, I don't know what is my purpose. I don't know. I'm like, you don't need to maybe know yet. You are quite young. Just keep trying things, and you'll get there. Because sometimes we want it too soon.
And absolutely. And when you're that young, this happened a lot for me during my career. I, how do I explain this very quickly and succinctly? I Policing was not my passion. I
Hmm.
wanted to get into policing because my brother wanted to be a policeman, and if it was good enough for my brother, then I wanted to do it as well. He changed his mind. He became a butcher. I couldn't change my mind, otherwise everybody would know I was only doing it because of Brian. But I ended up in a career where I enjoyed it, but I wasn't absolutely passionate about it. But it fed me. It gave me a
Yeah.
lot of things. And I think this is where you are now with your property. It's not your passion, but it is feeding you. It is allowing you to do what you want to do outside
Yes.
of that as well. Will you
Yes.
stay in property? Will you stay in property forever? Probably not. Because if your speaking takes off and your podcast takes off, I think you'll be quite, and this is making some assumptions, I know. I think you'll be quite happy to drop the property and just follow this other path. That's what
Yeah.
also happened for me in policing. I got bored and I've gone, I want to find something else to do. I couldn't find
Mm.
anything else to do. And this is where I relate to the 19-year-old. I've gone, I can't find anything else I'm really interested in. What will be fun for me and still earn me some money? And that's when I went into Star Group because I knew that it was challenges, it was leadership, it was
Hmm.
adventure, it was using my curiosity and my creativity to find solutions to problems. And that just sounded great to me. And so
Yes.
when I went there, I started operating and it became the thing I loved. I absolutely immersed myself in it. I found what I wanted because I just kept on trying the things that I thought would be enjoyable.
Mm. Yeah. Progress equal happiness. I like that saying from Tony.
Yeah, yeah.
Always sharing about it. Like when we grow, we feel alive, and then that's so important. That's why I laugh. Like I've been in kinds of places. There's always different people. I'm going tomorrow to another PSA conference, actually our 1 day conference, and then every time educating, going somewhere, meeting people. Because when we grow, we feel very very good, and sometimes like we said about the relaxation stay and that in the past it's like it could then you are there on the sofa watching movies, but then like you don't really even enjoy it anymore because you are not growing anywhere. It's good for a moment, for a couple of hours, but if you do it like days, like it's not enjoyable anymore. I have a question for you. When you spoke about the mind mastery, you mentioned like it's important to manage it, right? uh, and how do you practice it? So for example, like I'm working on myself for quite a long time now and doing a lot of different things. But if, for example, I know I have still a long way to go, so what can I do? I don't know, daily, weekly. What would be something what you would suggest to do? What maybe you are doing? How to practice the mind so it's more strong and I can build a mastery?
It the main thing about mind mastery is don't start with something huge,
Yeah.
right? Because if you start with something huge, it's going to be a challenge and very, very hard to achieve. Okay. And then we go, "Oh, that doesn't work. I'm not going to do it ever again." Start with something small and
Mm-hmm.
just daily take on something small that you would like to change. And this goes back to the book Atomic Habits. It
Yeah.
is start small. Okay. And when you can go, oh, I just want to change this thing. I just want to achieve this. I want to change my behavior here, but do a small change and put the processes in place to make that small change. And that small change will give you the reward, the endorphins, the um, dopamine that flicks into your brain. You go, yes, I've done it. I made that. Then you can take on a slightly bigger challenge and then a slightly bigger challenge. And what I find now is because I've done that throughout my life, it becomes second nature to me to just take on those challenges and put the
Mm.
process in place. But I trust it enough that I can now take on a bigger challenge because I know what I'm doing with it. So
Yes.
whenever you put a new process in place, start small and then build it up.
Yeah.
But day to day, start looking for the small things that you can change and accept it's only a small thing. I'm going to change this. This goes back to
Yeah.
the change the 1% each time you do something. If you change it
Yes.
1% day on, day on, day on, eventually that becomes absolutely massive.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I definitely agree. I had a actually coaching session today with my client in the morning, and then he was actually on the mastermind last week, and then he said that on the mastermind, as he admitted, he was like, "Yeah, I was focusing on the step 4, 5, and 6, but I didn't do the step 1, 2, 3, and that's why he failed, because he was like seeing the big picture where he wants to get, but didn't even do the first thing." So when we had the session, we discussed it a little bit more deeper, and then I'm like, "Yeah, just do this," and he's like, "Just this? Like that's it?" I'm like, "Yeah, just this, because you didn't do that in the past." So you just need to start small, very small. And for him, it seems like ridiculously small, but I'm like, yeah, just do this, and let's see if you're gonna able to do that. And I'll give you more, and I'll give you more.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah,
you've only got to look at how do they build a skyscraper. They don't start
yeah,
by building high. They build a skyscraper by starting to dig down. You build a skyscraper by digging down first. So,
yeah,
it is small. It is sometimes the opposite direction to what you think you want to go. But you've got to
yeah.
get those foundations before you can start growing.
Yeah, amazing! Wow. I mean, we're already speaking half an hour. It's with you. It's so quick. I can tell
It
you are a
does
good
go
speaker.
very, very quickly. It does go quickly. Um,
Okay.
the other thing that I'll say that you need to do every day, and this is around the mind mastery, is catch yourself with negative thoughts. When you have that thought of doubt, of "Ugh, I'm not going to bother with that, I'll never make it. That person is really annoying me, it's frustrating me. When you're having those negative thoughts, catch yourself and then question yourself, is this the thought that I would encourage other people to be having? And if I wouldn't encourage other people to have it, I don't want to have it. So what would I like to replace it with? What would be the more positive thought that would get me to the goal that I want to do? But if you can catch those negative thoughts each day, those
Yeah.
doubtful thoughts where you don't believe you can do it, and just question yourself, is this fact or is this just an emotion in my mind?
Yes. Yeah. 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 No, no. I mean, that's one really. This is really powerful, because there's something like I recently end up a relationship, like a business relationship, with my ex-partner in December. So it's still really fresh. It's just
Mhm.
4 months since we ended up, and we didn't ended up very on the easy kind of side,
Yeah.
especially because he's my family as well. So it
Oh,
was kind of
wow.
difficult. And then at the beginning, I would be like, he has having point of view, I have having point of view, but then I would kind of like negatively share some things with, let's say, my wife or my another business partner, and speak about it. And then I'm like, this is not really helping me in order to go forward. So like, let's not talk about it. It doesn't matter. Let's just focus on what we can control and on our things. But now it's sometimes even in the head, like I'm like, oh, and it just goes to my head, and I'm like, I try to not speak about it with other people anymore, but now, like you said, like catch it, and then I'm like, what do I want to replace it with? That's really good, because it's like you said, it's emotions, nothing else than just emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are emotion driven people. And the sooner we accept that emotions are the first things we experience, and then our response will be driven by that emotion.
Yeah.
And if we can actually start recognizing that emotion and saying, when I feel this emotion, I don't want to think what I've been thinking in the past. I want to think something differently. And it's a conversation between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. The
Mm-hmm.
limbic system, all our thoughts, all our feelings, all our experiences go through the base of the brain up through the limbic system, and the limbic system will say, you need to feel this emotion in relation to it, and then it will pass it to the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex will go, oh, as a result of that emotion, I need to respond this way. And if we can have that conversation going backwards and forwards, and having that conscious thought in our prefrontal cortex, I don't want to behave that way. So then train the limbic system. Okay, when you feel this experience, I want you to change it to this emotion, which is more controllable, and then send that message forward. It's very possible
Yes.
to do, but we've got to just understand that process.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. I have a last question to ask you before we wrap up. I didn't ask you that yet, and it's with today where the things are. Do you use AI in your business? And if yes, how do you use it?
I do use AI more for a brainstorming type
Mm-hmm.
operation. I don't know a lot about AI. I think I'm
Mm-hmm.
more advanced than some people.
Mm-hmm.
But when I want to develop something, I will come
Mm-hmm.
up with an idea and I'll throw it into AI and say, give me all your insight in relation to that. That will inform me of other ideas that are out there. And then as a result of that information, I'll distill it down. I'll put a piece together for myself, a paper, an idea, a theory,
Yeah.
and then I'll use AI again to refine the words that I've put down to make sure that they say exactly what I want. So I'm probably very, very basic in my use of AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. It's good to know. Yeah, I'm asking that everybody, like who like because obviously AI is everywhere. So just to see, because obviously I think like either you know if people are in business, either they will adopt the AI and they will start utilizing it because it can enhance them and enhance
Yeah,
what they can do, the capabilities, and they will stay in the business, or they're not gonna adopt it, and it's gonna be very difficult for them to stay in the business because like now, just yesterday, we deployed two AI agents, one on LinkedIn, the other one on Instagram, and they are up and running now. I just checked, and they are like going. Like beforehand, I would need to get probably hire another employee to get that task. And yeah, it's an investment because there are credits and all these things, but it's like now obviously we can do those things, and then especially when people are solo entrepreneurs or have an assistant, or as a speakers, like people just usually have like one assistant can handle a lot of things, and it's a more workload we can manage, right? So it's
yeah,
really
absolutely.
powerful.
So on behalf of your clients, and they may already know this, when you say you've got an AI agent for LinkedIn and one for Instagram, what are your agents doing for you?
So on LinkedIn at the moment, so I give him leads. So basically, I would find the people who would be good for anything what we do. So we do a part of property business, which I do on the side. It's either a mastermind, so I help people to bring people together on the mastermind. We help them to grow their business to 7 figures, or we also help them with AI implementation. So then, basically, on the Sales Navigator, for example, we would find the leads and then upload it to another software, and that software would start doing things like commenting on people's posts, reading their profiles, liking it, and then basically sending a connection. When they connect back, it would start the conversations with them and engage with them, and when they are ready, they would either book a call with us or join our webinar, and it's all done by agent instead of me doing it. In the past, you
Wow.
could do some kind of automation, but the AI, how powerful it is, it can read the conversation, so it's not gonna say the same thing again. Like some people are approaching me on LinkedIn and they keep sending me message. I reply to them and they send me another message similar like 2 weeks later, because they just go and send one message to everyone, the same one. But the agent actually reads the message and then says like, hey, he already answered that. I think the good way, and then he just deal with that. And then on Instagram, it's something similar basically.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you would ever want, I'm more than happy to obviously have a call with you, share the screen, and I could show you like we use this AI for this AI for this AI for this. I'm happy to share that with people. Like I'm also sign up on the GSS for the Global Speaking Federation, whatever the networking group. Like that is
Yep.
like yeah,
Yep. I've done
yeah.
that
So we
too.
have that Disco app or whatever. So I said like, hey, I can organize a Zoom call. I'm happy to share the screen, take my business partner because he's even more knowledgeable. He built all of that for us, and then just show you what we use where, and then like you can either use it, you can set it up yourself, we can help. But it's like it's really good to see what's out there and what you can use in order
Yeah,
to be more
absolutely.
productive.
It's yeah, gaining insights, gaining information. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm doing
Yeah.
the same. Like I have friends from USA and things like that, and the things what he said, what he's using it for, he just told me on a. I'll tell you quickly. He's like, he told me He's like providing efficiency in my locksmith service business, AI receptionist, all of the bookings of appointments, upsells, quotes, invoices, inventory management, optimizing track routes, job reports, picture organizations. For my HVAC business, we are planning on a 12 exit in 11 months. So he said basically that now 80% of the business is AI, and is doing all of those things. So I'm like, I help him in the past. So he's like, hey, I'll do a call with you, and he'll share with me what he's working on, because he seems like he even knows more than me. I'm like, okay, let's learn from him as well. So I'm always like learning and then passing to my clients on my masterminds or through calls, like, hey, this is good for your business, use it. So, and for speakers, I think this LinkedIn outreach AI agent, it's really powerful, because then it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Derek, for the podcast. It was very nice to having you in here, for sharing all of that. I really like speaking about mindset, and now you mentioned mind mastery, and all these and other things. Like, I find it very very good, and I always like to work on this, because this is very important. So thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you, Vincent. Great to be on your podcast. Great to meet you at the Global Speakers